This is the 10th fight in Foreman's comeback, a year into his return, where he continues to insist that he could defeat Mike Tyson, despite finding few experts who agree. In this bout, he faces Carlos Hernandez, trained by the legendary Eddie Futch. Nicknamed Rocky, Hernandez was born in Cuba but raised in New Jersey. He initially took up boxing as a hobby and turned professional in 1982 with only 6 amateur fights under his belt. He's a relatively small heavyweight, and he dropped down to cruiserweight 3 years earlier but found little success. Hernandez enters this fight on a 4-fight losing streak, with losses to notable fighters like Bert Cooper and Razor Ruddock. Hernandez also hasn't fought in over a year, but he recently joined Michael Spinks' training camp, where he has been mimicking Mike Tyson's style to help Spinks prepare for his upcoming bout with Tyson. Hernandez also serves that purpose for Foreman here, who seems to be handpicking opponents of similar height to Tyson.
Strategy is concerned, he will go right at Foreman. Hernandez, who has power in both hands, he had some problems as far as training was concerned over the course of the last few years. Now he's with the Michael Spinks camp, and there is the power. With the left, goes right at Foreman. Hernandez staggers Foreman in the opening seconds.
Exactly what Hernandez said that he was going to do. He said he wasn't going to do anything special, just go out and fight Foreman.
He has been imitating Mike Tyson as a sparring partner for Spinks. He's been going 3-4 rounds a day against Michael Spinks heading into this one, looking for roundhouses. Foreman, in his first 9 fights, criticized for being too slow and the poor quality of his opponents. This is the best opponent he has faced. Muhammad Qawi, who was Dwight Qawi, actually the biggest name he has faced, but he had suddenly ballooned and was out of his game.
And Foreman is extremely slow. Hernandez went out, feinted the left jab, and came around with a wide hook. After Foreman tried to wipe away that jab, he dropped his right hand, left himself open.
And consider Foreman is in the best shape in his comeback bid, down to 245, and he is being hit by Hernandez, just teeing off and connecting. We are just about halfway through round number 4, and Hernandez could be quickly stealing the first round.
Foreman carrying his hands very low. Smartly, Hernandez going downstairs to the body on Foreman. He sees the weight that Foreman's carrying today.
At the weigh-in this morning, Hernandez a little bit intimidated when he saw Foreman. He did not expect him to be in good shape.
And I have to look at Foreman. Gosh, 15 years ago, he was such a technician. He wouldn't have gotten hit with those big punches that he's getting hit with tonight.
Thing, as Sean pointed out before, the big punch, and that's what he's looking for. Ooh, the left shakes up Hernandez. It was a left jab, shook him up.
Hernandez psychologically trying to tell Foreman, you didn't hurt me, come on, hit me. Shaking his head at Foreman. Foreman still has that power, and Hernandez showing us some power. He staggered Foreman here in this first round, putting pressure on Foreman and hitting him into the body well.
Foreman may have been hit in this first round more than he has in his first 9 fights. Hernandez down, no, a push. Hernandez waves it off, as does referee Paul Venti.
That was just a push. Anything you can do to get your opponent on the ground, that's what Foreman is doing. Just, even if you have to push him down, make him visit that canvas. Let him get used to it and let him like it.
Showing you the strength of George Foreman. Hernandez, 6 feet, 225 pounds. And he has to be very pleased with the first 3 minutes.
That's right. I'll give him that first round. Foreman, one of the greatest technicians. Foreman standing up in the corner, trying to get as much air into his lungs as possible. Second round action.
Hernandez, very little amateur background. He had only 3 fights, one of which was a victory over Marvis Frazier. He had been going from trainer to trainer, having problems in fights, not getting warm, and losing quickly. We mentioned Eddie Gregg in a big fight, the Boone Pultz in the USBA Cruiserweight title fight. But he is now in the best shape of his life. He has never had a regular training program. He is now in the Michael Spinks camp. He's sparring with Spinks. He's being taught by Spinks. He's being watched by Eddie Futch. And this could be for Carlos Hernandez the biggest moment in his life. It is still very early, and it is George Foreman. Looks like he is going through the motions so far in the early stages, not upset with being rocked in the early minute of the first round.
Foreman is picking his shots. He is not wasting any punches at all. Not only does he have that punching power, but also he has that experience.
Most of the experts say Foreman has to step in against a top 10 opponent to see exactly where he is. Foreman says none of them will fight him. Well, last night we had two of them, Razor Ruddock and Pinklin Thomas, who says that Foreman won't fight them.
And Foreman pushing back on Hernandez like he did on Joe Frazier right there. That's what he says that he can do against Tyson. Eventually knock Tyson out. Carlos Hernandez.
His best punch so far tonight has been the jab.
Hernandez rallying back. He's not giving up. A pivot by Hernandez. Hernandez has been working out in Spink's training camp. Michael Spinks. Eddie Futch is in the corner. The same corner man for Spinks. Big right hand by Foreman. Hernandez came into this fight with a swelled left eye. From the right hands of Foreman, it has swelled up bigger. We could see that eye closed and maybe even cut. Right on it again, Foreman throws that right hand. Again, right on the right hand.
So far, Foreman, ho-hum, going about his manner, trying to dissect a game Carlos Hernandez.
Foreman not really worrying about the power here in the second round. Just trying to land those punches. Get your opponent used to getting hit and make him like it.
And there goes the mouthful in round 3. Former heavyweight champion George Foreman at the age of 40. Looking to get into a position where he one day would fight Mike Tyson. Many of the critics just scoff at it. George Foreman taking himself seriously.
Hernandez doing just exactly what he told us he would do. Nothing spectacular, just basic boxing. That's what he's trying to do.
What he's trying to do is to move left and stay away from Foreman's right. Foreman's most effective punch, so this time, has been the left. The jab just moving Hernandez back. And Sean, Foreman going at it methodically. Feels he is in no danger, although he was staggered, knocked off balance in the first round. He may be fooling himself when he starts talking about going up against Tyson. A swing and a miss by Hernandez. Tell me, how slow does George Foreman look to you?
Even though he looked quick in making Carlos Hernandez miss that punch, that left hook, he is still extremely slow, and he wants to fight a fighter who is extremely fast in Mike Tyson.
Title. He feels better as a cruiserweight, but now he's at 225. He was stopped on cuts in the 7th round by Ricky Parkey, and the bell sounds with a minute to go. There was a minute to go. A short round, no complaints by Foreman. And there is the clock still counting down the 3rd round. Well, I can understand being off a couple of seconds or so, but a whole minute off as we take a look at the timekeepers trying to figure that one out.
And he is shaking his head. He knows he blew it. He just missed the count. They're keeping time on a stopwatch, and they watch that thing go around 3 times, and he just missed the count. It went around only 2 times.
Well, we'll send him a Christmas present of the digital stopwatch.
He knows it, too. They are human.
And George Foreman has no complaints. At this point, I think he'd like to go 2 minutes every round. There's the clock still ticking it off. And this should be the end of the 3rd round right now. How ironic. Last night in our Super Fights 1, Hector Camacho knocked down for the first time in his career in round number 1. And here tonight, Foreman staggered in round number 1. But we have proceeded on to round 4.
Now Foreman coming out this round with a little bit more intent on his face. Oh, and he's putting those combinations together. Look at the rotation of Foreman.
Oh, Hernandez staggered, just trying to get away from Foreman, and Foreman let him collect himself. Now Hernandez trying to turn it on. He knows that it is a matter of time.
The best defense is a good offense, and that's what Hernandez is trying to do. Foreman, the split-second timing, all that power, all that weight.
moment of his life. He does not want it stopped here. Halfway through round number 4, it ends. George Foreman started his comeback at 325 pounds.
And Foreman isn't even breathing hard.
He went down to 245, a major accomplishment for this fight.
Hernandez never fought again after this bout. Tragically, his next battle was with lymphoma, and in January of 1998, he passed away at the age of 36. Meanwhile, Foreman improved to 3-0 against Eddie Futch trained fighters, and his next opponent was Ladislao Mijangos. Fighting out of Mexico City, Mijangos' biggest victory came 8 months earlier against a badly fated Leon Spinks. Standing at only 5'10", Mijangos started his career as a 171-pound light heavyweight before eating his way into the heavyweight division. Due to his height and frame, Mijangos fit the profile of the type of opponent Foreman sought out during this phase of his comeback.
Well, John, I'm with George Foreman at this time, and in hopes that we can get him in the proper condition that he can continue winning and become once again, the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
How does a fighter come back after a long layoff, like a 10-year retirement for George?
Well, I would say that George Foreman, boxing will only demand from you what you put into it. And George put a lot into boxing, but George had a lot more that he did not, that boxing did not take from him. So therefore, when he comes back with his tank full of gas again, and he's ready to go again and roll on a few more miles. And I believe that George is of the fighter, of the caliber and of the power that he can take Tyson or anybody else in boxing. He is the hardest puncher that's fighting today.
He has an enormous amount of respect for you, as do I. What is it that you tell him? What does he ask you? What do you talk about?
Well, I suppose I know how to encourage you, guy. I know his good points. I know how to make him use them. I know when to use them, you see, and that's what he gets me for.
What makes a fighter successful after he's trying to come back like George is?
What makes a fighter successful is the things that he didn't accomplish when he was on top, and that he has now thought them over real well and has made plans to go back into this, into the things that he dreamed about when he was coming up.
Mijangos, I don't know too much about him. I know that he's going to be smaller than me, which is going to make a smaller target, sort of a Mike Tyson, stooping way down. So I'm going to try to find punches to find him down there.
Shaken. He can get tagged early. He was never known as a fast fighter, but devastating puncher, just lumbering. Mijangos will have to move, but Foreman looking to cut off the ring.
Now Mijangos has got a little bit of power in that left hook.
He has 20 knockouts and 24 wins.
Right, and the way that Foreman
left shakes Mijangos. Just a jab. That's what he was doing to Hernandez.
Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up.
The one thing Foreman still has is the punch. Remember last time we saw him, guys like Frank Bruno were there, Pinklon Thomas, Reza Reddick, and they were impressed with the punching power of Foreman.
He's got that punch and he's got that strength. Very strong upper body strength. Also terrific balance George Foreman has. Brian Gary warning Foreman not to punch Mijangos in the back. Foreman did it earlier in this round. Kidney punch.
Foreman just plotting, setting this man up. Mijangos will have to move more than he has so far.
Every punch by Foreman is a home run.
Don't push him, George. Get off his head now. Come on. Get off his head. All right, gentlemen, I got you. Break.
And Foreman just flicking that right away. There goes a fly. Foreman, in his fights in the comeback, has looked almost disinterested, bored, going through the motions. Man playing with boys. But he has certainly shown the punch. It's the question when he goes to a top 10 fighter, or even in thinking in terms of Tyson, of the other fighter just getting in those shots against Foreman. There's Mijangos is down. Closing seconds. He cannot be saved by the bell. Was it behind the back?
That is what Mijangos is complaining about, a kidney punch. That's the second time he's been hit there in that first round. Referee Brian Gary visiting the corner of George Foreman, telling him to watch those kidney punches. Archie Moore in that corner. Here's a look at that kidney punch. Foreman, boom. Now in Foreman's defense, the way that Mijangos fights, he stands to his side. See how Mijangos, he's standing to the side. His feet are not parallel to, but they are parallel to Foreman's feet.
Archie Moore, at the age of 75. He fought until he was 49 years of age. And what a perfect man to have in the corner of George Foreman, who is now nearing his 40th birthday.
Foreman stood up between rounds with his foot on the stool.
I talked yesterday with our former colleague Randy Gordon, who is now the New York State boxing commissioner. I asked him, would he sanction a Foreman-Tyson fight? And he said, well, Foreman would have to pass the physical. He probably could do that. Then it was a judgment, and Randy felt it'd be no contest, not competitive enough. He would not sanction it until Foreman proved himself against top 10 fighters. And that's just one commissioner of one state.
And that is very difficult to do, because all the top 10 fighters obviously want to get to that top 10 because they want to fight for the championship. If you're not in the top 10, you can't fight for the title. Mijangos taking some heavy shots. This fight is only a matter of time.
Halfway through round number 2, it is scheduled for 10. And keep in mind, George Foreman in his career in 57 fights has gone the distance just 4 times. Last time, 1977, 11 years ago.
Now the mat is loosening up terribly. These fighters slipping around a bit on the mat. Oh!
The mat is, it's 18.5 feet.
Low blow by Foreman, and Brian Gary warns him to keep punches up.
This is certainly a mat to the advantage of Foreman, a smaller mat. Matter of fact, I wonder if they even watered it down for him before the fight. He has had no complaints, though, Sean, about the loose canvas. That may be more dangerous to his comeback than Ladislao Mijangos.
Mijangos not really dangerous. Foreman moves ahead forward with his hands down. Look where his hands are. How can you have a defense when your hands are way down there by your sides? Now, no question, one of the hardest hitters. Look at that.
Dazed Mijangos waved off by Brian Gary. The Night Stalker moved in. 2 punches ended it. And George Foreman is now 11 for 11 in his comeback bid, hearing the jeers from the crowd.
Mijangos continued boxing for 8 years after this bout, losing more than he won. He faced such notables as Tony Tubbs, Alex Garcia, Tommy Morrison, and even Mike Weaver, but never made it past the 3rd round against any of them. So please be on the lookout for a few more historical fights coming up during the week. Thanks for watching.